Namaste. Aloha, my name is John Paji Das. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. And please accept my respects, everyone. Let me offer my obeisances to Jagat Guru Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, my life and soul, and to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are going to chat a little bit and then start. We have been reading from chapter 17. Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Himate Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Namo Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Devataruna Swarupaya Father Krishna Krishnayate Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Father Krishna Krishnayate Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Haribo. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaurakaruna Swarupaya Radhakrishna Prasthayate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we are reading text 17. Chapter 17, sorry. That is the divisions of faith. And we had Arjuna, being the disciple of Lord Sri Krishna, Prince Warrior Arjuna, said, he asked these questions: what is the situation of one who does not follow the principles of Scripture but worships according to his own imagination? Is he in goodness, passion, or ignorance? And of course, the Supreme Lord said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Now, hear about these. So he's defining the different kinds of austerities and sacrifices and performances of whatever it might be in the different gunas or different modes. That just shows that there are different modes. So we had left off at text 7. And we're talking about food and other things. This one is text 7. Aharas tvapi shavashi tsuivijo bhavati kriya yajnas tapas tata danam desham bedam idam iman shnu. Ahara, eating, too, certainly. Api, also. Shavasha, of everyone. Trivijaha, three kinds. Bhavati, there are. Priyaha, dear. Yajna, sacrifice. Tapas, austerity. Tata, also. Danam, charity. Tesham, of these. Bedam, differences. Imam, thus, shnu, here. So, translation, text 7. Even food of which all partake is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Listen, and I shall tell you the distinction of these. So, we're in the material world. The gunas, the modes of material nature, permeate and influence everything, every aspect of the material nature, including food, music, states of consciousness, different kinds of religious paths are for people in modes of goodness, passion, or ignorance, and here food, and we will get to that. In terms of different situations in the modes of material nature, there are differences in manners of eating, performing sacrifices, austerities, and charities. They are not all conducted on the same level. Those who can understand analytically what kind of performances are in what modes of material nature are actually wise. Those who consider all kinds of sacrifice or foods or charity to be the same cannot discriminate, and they are foolish. Yeah, so there are different kinds of foods and austerities, and to say that if we're eating something in the mode of ignorance, which is putrid and old, that is on the same level as eating fresh fruit, which is in the mode of goodness, is foolish to think that. We're just like, well, whatever, it's food, There are missionary workers who advocate that one can do whatever he likes and attain perfection, but these foolish guides are not acting according to the direction of Scripture. They are manufacturing ways and misleading the people in general. So we have been talking about these foolish people that, and they come oftentimes in the garb of religious leaders. And so it's just important to understand when you're surrendering your life to a spiritual guide or spiritual leader, you should question if they're where they're coming from, what they're saying. Is it true? Do you see it in scriptures? Does it resonate well in your heart? So those kind of things need to be in sync. If they're saying something that is contrary to scriptures, then they are charlatans. And this is where we're talking about satanic, demonic kind of people who just like, whatever you do to make yourself happy, whatever that means, that is what you should be doing. But actually, sometimes austerity and sacrifice is good to have and to regulate what you're doing in this material world with the knowledge of understanding that you are a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and not your material body. Text 8 through 10. Ayu Sattva Bararogya Sukha Priti Vidvardhana Rashaha Snigdaha Stira Hirda Aharaha Satvika Priyaha Katvalma Lavananti Ushna Tikshna Ruksha Vidahinaha Ahara Raja Shashishta Dukkha Soka Maya Praja Yata Yamam Gata Rasham Puti Paru Shitam Cha Yat Uchishtam Api Chamedam Bojanam Tamasha Priyam. Aya, Yuhu, duration of life. Sattva, existence. Bala, strength. Arogya, health. Sukha, happiness. Priti, satisfaction. Vivardhanaha, increasing. Rashaha, juicy. Snigdaha, fatty. Stilaha, enduring. Hirda, pleasing to the heart. Araha, food. Satvika, goodness. Priyaha, palatable. Katu, bitter. Alma, sour. Lavana, salty. Atiyusha, very hot. Tikshna, pungent. Ruksha, dry. Vidahina, burning. Aharaha, food. Raja Shasha, in the mode of passion. Ishtaha, palatable. Dukkha, distress. Shoka, misery. Amaya prajaha, causing disease. Yatayama, food cooked 3 hours before being eaten. Katagrasham, tasteless. Puti, bad smelling. Parushitam, decomposed. Cha, also. Yat, that which. Uchishtam, remnants of food eaten by others. Api, also. Cha, and. Amedya, untouchable. Bojanam, eating. Tamasha, in the mode of darkness. Priyam, dear. Translation, text 8 through 10. I think that was 8 through 10, yeah. Foods in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. So, we will, when you're making foods or offering foods to Krishna, you should have foods in the mode of goodness that are fresh as much as possible. Fresh and freshly cooked and whatnot. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, pungent, dry, and hot are likened to people in the mode of passion. So these kinds of spicy, salty things are very hot, like spicy and mode of passion. Such food causes pain, distress, and disease. Food cooked more than 3 hours before being eaten, which is tasteless, stale, putrid, decomposed, and unclean, is food likened by people in the mode of ignorance. So you can see the kind of the freshness, that's mode of goodness, something that agitates the senses is mode of passion, and things that are old and decomposing and maybe sitting around for a while like in the mode of ignorance. The purpose of food is to increase the duration of life, purify the mind, and aid bodily strength. That's a really important point. I mean, food is there, and we offer our food to Krishna, but we also have a responsibility to be eating well, because it is to help extend our life, this body, for the purpose of serving Krishna. So when we are in the mode of goodness, the body is healthy, so we're not agitated. The mind is purified, it's not agitated, and the body is strong to be able to do the things it needs to do. This is its only purpose. But see, people actually live to eat instead of eat to live in this, especially in the West, where food is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, those animal propensities. And there are so many ways to eat, so many kinds of snack kind of things, and we're encouraged to eat. We're not encouraged to fast at all. That's an austerity that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. But from a bodily point of view, we should be eating simply and in the mode of goodness, for the purpose of taking care of our body. And we can enjoy our food. We offer it to Krishna, and we enjoy it, but we don't live for just eating just for the sake of eating. In the past, great authorities selected these foods that best aid health and increase life's duration, such as milk products, sugar, rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables. And it's an interesting point, because I don't actually usually do dairy, and I try to limit my sugar, and I don't eat wheat. But in this day and age, the milk is processed, the sugar and the wheat are all processed, and many kinds of times of fruits and vegetables are sprayed with pesticides. And there's also an argument that because of the exploitation of agriculture, the nutritional, or the mineral count in the soil has been depleted. So actually the vegetables and fruits have less nutritional value than they used to have. Some other foods, such as baked corn and molasses, while not very palatable in themselves, can be made pleasant when mixed with milk or other foods. They are then in the mode of goodness. All these foods are pure by nature. They are quite distinct from untouchable things like meat and liquor. So you can ferment, and actually, when you ferment liquor, you get liquor. You ferment things like beer and different kinds of alcohol. That is a mode of ignorance, because it's a fermentation. Although, oftentimes we eat fermented things. I eat, kimchi and certain kinds of probiotic sort of foods, but I don't eat it a lot, So there are exceptions in this case. They are then in the mode of goodness. All the foods, so fatty foods, as mentioned in the 8th verse, have no connection with the animal fat obtained by slaughter. So this is vegetable fat, like avocados. It's a very healthy animal fat. Animal protein is different than vegetable protein. So there's a lot of an argument to have a vegetarian diet that we can get into another time. Animal fat is available in the form of milk, which is most wonderful in all foods. So the animal fat is gotten from milk and cheese and things like that are not, you don't have to slaughter the animal for that. Milk, butter, cheese, and similar products give animal fat in a form which rules out any need for killing of the innocent creatures. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada said is that there are fine molecules in the animal products like milk and cheese, dairy, that help make fine tissues in the brain for help assist in spiritual realization. It is only through brute mentality, Okay, milk, butter, cheese, and similar products give animal fat in a form which rules out any need for the killing of innocent creatures. It is only through brute mentality that this killing goes on. The civilized method of obtaining needed fat is by milk. Slaughter is a way of subhumans. And it's horrible. I mean, if you've ever seen these videos of what they do to animals, I mean, the slaughter itself is bad enough, but just it's just demoniac. Protein is amply available through split peas, dal, whole wheat, etc. There's plenty of vegetable protein out there. Food in the mode of passion, which are bitter, too salty, or too hot, or overly mixed with red pepper, can cause misery by producing mucus in the stomach, leading to disease. Foods in the mode of ignorance or darkness are essentially those that are not fresh. So actually, even people who have said that when you eat too much spicy food, it starts to affect the lining of your stomach. So you should limit that. Any food cooked more than 3 hours before it is eaten, except prasadam, food offered to the Lord, is considered to be in the mode of darkness, because they are decomposing. Such food gives a bad odor, which often attracts people in this mode, but repulses those in the mode of goodness. Remnants, yeah, so it's true. If you think about, like, sometimes if you're eating foods in the mode of ignorance, which are packaged foods like Doritos, things that have been sitting around for long periods of time, people love those kind of things. But if you're used to eating a healthy diet in the mode of goodness, and somebody offers you some Doritos and packaged cookies or something like that have been sitting on the shelf for a long time, you're just kind of like, no, ugh. And it just tastes really weird and overly sweet and kind of nasty. But if you're used to eating that, like I used to eat candy bars, and and when you eat that a lot, you get your certain kind of adaptation to your tongue, so you're hankering for those flavors. But if you stop eating that and then you try to eat it again, it's like, oh, that was really gross. How did I ever like that? Because you start to develop very subtle taste buds, especially when you're eating very simply. And those things that may appear, if you're used to a very overly spicy, sweet, fatty, salty kind of diet, and you have something very subtle like dal or whatever, and you're like, oh, I need a lot more salt in that, or that's not very sweet. That fruit was not very sweet. So it's an interesting. If you happen to eat in the mode of ignorance and passion and you cut those out, you'll notice that you start to get a stronger desire, even if it's something initially might not taste very sweet or very palatable. Over time, it becomes more and more palatable for your tongue. Remnants of this food may be eaten only when they are part of a meal that was first offered to the Supreme Lord or first eaten by saintly persons, especially the spiritual master. So that's the most important point about this foods and the modes of passion, goodness, and ignorance. Goodness, making food in the mode of goodness for your spiritual master or for Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, is offered to Krishna, just as somebody offers something to the master first, or to the head of the household. We offer our food to Krishna first, and then it becomes prasadam or mahaprasadam. Otherwise, the remnants of food are considered to be in the mode of darkness, and they increase infection and disease. So it could even be food in the mode of goodness, and if it's not really offered to Krishna, it's actually in the mode of ignorance, because you're making it and eating it for yourself. Such foodstuffs, although very palatable to the persons in the mode of darkness, are neither liked nor even touched by those in the mode of goodness. The best food is a remnant of what is offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahaprasadam. Yeah. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord said that he accepts preparations of vegetable, flour, and milk when offered with devotion. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Of course, devotion and love are the chief things which the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts. But it is also mentioned that the prasadam should be prepared in a particular way. Any food prepared in the injunction of the scriptures offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be taken even if prepared long, long ago, because such food is transcendental. So there's another important point. Therefore, to make food antiseptic, edible, and palatable for all persons, one should offer food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have this Mahaprashadam, sometimes we have it in form of salt or water or these cookies or something, and they've been made from last week, and still we're going to eat them because they're offered, they're Mahaprashadam. Text 11. Afala kan kishapir yajno vidi drishto yajyate Yashtavyam eviti manaha samadaya sa satvikaha. Afala kanshibihi, devoid of desire for result. Yajna, sacrifice. Vidi, accordingly. Dhrista, direction. Yaha, anyone. Ijyate, performs. Yashtavyam, must be performed. Eva, certainly. Iti, thus. Mind. Mana, mind. Samadhyaya, fixed in. Saha, he, satvika, is in the mode of goodness. Text 11, translation. Of sacrifices, that sacrifice performed according to duty and to scriptural rules with no exception of reward is in the nature of goodness. So very important. Following the scriptural rules and regulations of how sacrifices are to be offered without expecting any kind of result, because God knows who is offered that. And even when you give sacrifices or you give charity in different religions like Islam and whatnot, there's a different gradations of sacrifice and offerings. The one that is offered without the person knowing who gave it as an anonymous is the highest, because you're not relishing, although it's good to be praised for doing charitable things. Oftentimes people will do sacrifices as sort of an extension of their false ego. So they go, look what I did, like I'm how great I am. I give all this money to these people, instead of just, God knows what you're doing, and it should be just between you and Krishna, and not doing it for any kind of reward. And this is what Krishna was telling Arjuna, to offer his fighting as a sacrifice without attachment to the result. That was the best. This is the nature of goodness. The general tendency is to offer sacrifice with some purpose in mind. But here it is stated that sacrifice should be performed without any such desire. Yeah, people will do sacrifices for all kinds of different reasons because they know, for example, people might be philanthropic about be a billionaire, and they give, $100,000 or $1 million towards this charity, but they know they can go to the IRS and write that off and get that money back, and plus more maybe. And so that's why they do that. They don't just do it because they like to feel like they're being philanthropic. That's good too. It's better than being a selfish asshole. But there is an idea with some purpose in mind. So people do things for different reasons. Like we would do something nice. Sometimes you go up to the little girl and you say, "Oh, hi, little girl," and because the mama you want to date the mama, so you got to be nice to the little girl. You're not just being nice to the little girl to be a nice little girl. You're doing it to get to the mama. So, there is a purpose in mind, and you could probably break that down in many cases. We do that a lot of times ourselves. But here it is stated. Okay, it should be done as a matter of duty. So, but we do our sacrifices to Krishna as a matter of duty, without the attachment to the result. Just the only result really is to be pleasing to Krishna. That's an okay result to have. Take, for example, the performance of rituals in temple or in churches. Generally, they are performed with the purpose of material benefit, but that is not the mode of goodness. Yeah, I see this a lot. People will sacrifice their life, they want to live a pious life so they can go to the heavenly planets or go to heaven and have the gold house and live with their family, or they do things that's written in to the result to feel good, for a lot of different reasons. But they do these in churches, or they do the sacrifices to get something back. Like, for example, the Hindu temples that I used to go chant with Purandar Das. You would see these people, they would be praying to the different demigods and demigoddesses. They would make their sacrifices, they would offer their foods, their offerings on the altars of these demigods, with the idea that they want a successful business, or they want a good husband, or whatever that might be. Or sometimes those are also in different gradations of modes of material nature. You could be in the mode of ignorance. For example, people will go to, in Africa, once I've been talking about my experiences in Africa, a lot of times you have these marabouts, which are witch doctors, and people will pay money. That's a sacrifice. They'll make some kind of sacrifice. They'll give whatever it might be, so that they can create a juju that will cause pain and death to their enemy, so that they can get something from that. So that's just a mode of ignorance kind of sacrifice, right? And there's examples of this all over the place. So I could go on and on about that. Take, for example, the performance of rituals in temples or churches. Generally, they are performed with the purpose of material benefit, but that is not in the mode of goodness. One should go to the temple or church as a matter of duty. Yeah, that's part of our dharma, right? The dharma is religiosity. It is our duty in life to have religiosity. So we should go to the temples and churches and mosques and offer our sacrifices to God. And whether or not there's gradations of sacrifice, you're still going to that temple as a matter of duty. Offer respect to the supreme personality of God and offer flowers and eatables. Everyone thinks that there is no use in going to the temple just to worship God. But yeah, even times, this idea of praying to God, there's confusion on both the side of the atheist and on the side of the religionist. The religionist thinks you could pray to God to get all these things that God is like an order supplier, waiter. And this, you can do that. You can pray to God for material things and for praying for protection of your children or your family members in sickness and hope that they get well. And on the atheist side, people will say that, people they have this idea that you shouldn't pray to people who've gone through a traumatic time. And that's not true either, because they think of praying as like some kind of, order supply, which a lot of times it is. But actually prayer in the highest form is to pray for love for God, for love for Krishna, that you can be pleasing to God, to pray to God. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you for being in my life. And there's, there's a lot to say about that. But worship for economic benefit is not recommended in the scriptural injunction. One should go simply to offer respect to the deity. That will place one in the mode of goodness. It is the duty of every civilized man to obey the injunctions of the scriptures and offer respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 12. Abhishandhyaya tu phalam dambaratam api chaivayat ijyate parat shreshita tam yajna vidhi rajasham. Abhishandhyaya, desiring to, but. Phalam, the result. Phalam is also a fruit. So result or fruits of action, right? Damba, pride. Artam, material benefits. Api, also. Cha, end. Eva, certainly. Yat, that which. Igiate, worship. Igiate. Bharat Shrestha, O chief of the Bharats. Tam, that yajnam, sacrifice. Vidi, no rajasam, in the mode of passion. Igiate, it's interesting, another word that has to do with worship. So we've come across different kinds of worship words that are translated as worship but have a different flavor of meaning. But the sacrifice performed for some material end or benefit or performed ostentatiously out of pride is of the nature of passion, O chief of the Bharats. So we're talking about our sacrifices before those things that are prayed for in the material benefit. Out of pride, that's a very interesting one, standing outside, as they would say, standing on the corner, as Jesus Christ would say. So go and stand out on the corner to show off, go into the closet and pray. So you're not showing off, right? You're not like, look at me, how great and proud I am. Very mode of passion. Because you usually want something from it, right? That's the mode of passion. There's a lust, there's a desire to control and own something, and that can be extended to showing off your ability to be a very sort of holy person. Sometimes sacrifices and rituals are performed for elevation to the heavenly kingdom or for some material benefits in this world. Such sacrifices or ritualistic performances are considered to be in the mode of passion. Clearly better than some sacrifices and prayers, but once again, not as good as in the prayer, the sacrifice done out of duty. Text 13. Vidihinam ashrashtanam mantrahinam adakshinam shraddha virahitam yajnam tamasham parikachakshate. Vidihinam, without scriptural direction. Arishta anam, without distribution of prasadam. Mantrahinam, with no chanting of the Vedic hymns. So we have the word mantra, right? Adakshinam, with no remunerations to the priests. Shraddha, faith. Virahitam, without. Yajnam, sacrifice. Tamasham, in the mode of ignorance. Parikshakshate, is to be considered. Translation, and that sacrifice performed in defiance of scriptural injunctions, so not following scriptures, in which no spiritual food is distributed. So usually, even when people are worshiping in the mode of passion, like they might be worshiping demigods for some kind of material benefit, they're still offering food to the demigods. So it is prasadam, because it does elevate the person more than other than mode of ignorance, where there's nothing offered to the demigods. Gods are left out of this. No hymns are chanted. There's no chanting of Krishna's names or any of the demigods' names for that matter. Nothing. No remunerations are made to the priests, so there's no contribution to the brahmanas, which is faithless, that sacrifices of the nature of ignorance. Purport. Faith in the mode of darkness or ignorance is actually faithlessness. Sometimes people worship some demigod just to make money, and then they spend the money for recreation, ignoring the scriptural injunctions. Such ceremonial shows of religiosity are not accepted as genuine. They are all in the mode of darkness. They produce a demoniac mentality and do not benefit human society. Very interesting. Text 14. Deva Divija Guru Prajna Pujanam Shacham Ajavam Brahmacharam Ahimsacha Shariram Tapa Uchate. Deva, the Supreme Lord, Divija, the Brahmanas, Guru, the spiritual master, Prajna, worshipable personalities, Pujanam, worship, Shacham, cleanliness, Arjavam, simplicity, brahmana, chalam, celibacy, ahimsa, nonviolence, cha, also shadilam, pertaining to the body, tapaha, austerity, uchate, it is said to be. The austerities of the body consist in this: worship of the Supreme Lord. The brahmanas, the spiritual master and superiors, are like the father and mother. Cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, nonviolence are also austerities of the body. So there are austerities, but they're in the mode of goodness, and ultimately they are utilized and done in worship of the Supreme Personality, Godhead, Sri Krishna, and everything that goes along with that. There's sort of an umbrella. When you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, naturally you're going to worship the Brahmanas. You're going to have a spiritual master. You will offer respects to the spiritual master. You offer respects to your father and mother, regardless. And usually the father and mother will be devotees of Krishna, so that you should, it's said in the scriptures that you should actually pay your obeisances to your father and mother every day on the ground. Cleanliness, so keeping a clean body, clean mind, clean inside, outside. Simplicity, celibacy, keeping your sex life minimal to householder life. Non-violence are also the austerities of the body. Purport: the Supreme Godhead here explains the different kinds of austerity and penance. First, he explains the austerities and penances practiced by the body. One should offer or learn to offer respect to God or to the demigods, the perfect qualified brahmanas, and the spiritual master and superiors like father, mother, any person who is conversant with Vedic knowledge. So we offer our respects to everyone. Do we follow everyone? No. But we do offer our respects to everyone. And it was also said to offer respects to the demigods. Now, just because we're not demigod worshippers, we do respect and revere demigods as great devotees of Krishna. So because they're devotees of Krishna, just like any devotee of Krishna, we offer our respectful obeisances to great demigods who are servants of Sri Krishna. And these should be given proper respect. One should practice cleansing oneself externally and internally. So we were talking about, eating well. That's the bodily eating well, taking care of, cleaning our body, but internally living a very clean life. One should learn to become simple in behavior. So we don't dabble in different things. We're very simple. We stick to the rules and regulations of how we interact with people. You should not do anything which is not sanctioned by scriptural injunctions. You should not indulge in sex outside of marriage life, for sex is sanctioned in the scripture only in marriage and not otherwise. This is called celibacy. These are penances and austerities as far as the body is concerned. Let's read one more verse here. Text 15. Anud vega karam vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat svadhyaya biyat shanam chaiva vanmayam tapa uchayate. Anud vega, not agitating. Karam, producing. Vakyam, words. Satyam, truthful. Priya, dear. Hitam, beneficial. Cha, also. Yat, which. Svadhyaya, Vedic study. Abhyashanam, practice. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Vanmayam, of the voice. Tapa, austerity. Uchayate, is said to be. Austerity of the speech consists in speaking truthfully and beneficially and in avoiding speech that offends. One should also recite the Vedas regularly. So we have this word, I think it's in here, tapaha, right? Oh, not that one. Where is it? No, but it's not in here. But there is a term in Vedic thought that's referred to as manaha, maunam, I guess, or mauna, yeah, which sometimes people translate it as not talking. And so you can go to these retreats sometimes and there'll be silent retreats where you don't talk because they think they're practicing mona. But mona is not just being vocally quiet. It's also just not talking about things that are nonsensical or unnecessary. So sometimes if you're having a retreat and you're in a time where there's a morning time where you're doing japa and you're doing your spiritual focus, whether it's Guranga breathing or you're doing yoga or whatever, and it's primarily there to focus your mind on Krishna, you're not going to be talking about nonsense stuff, SpongeBob SquarePants or something like that. You can talk, and especially if it's something that has to do with spiritual life or has to do with your instructions of what you have to do in spiritual life. But this kind of goes along with this, and we're focusing, we're training our speech to be more focused on what's pleasing to Krishna and not what's pleasing to ourselves. So that's a whole class in itself, and we've talked about a lot of things of fault finding and talking nonsensical stuff or stuff in the mode of ignorance. We should keep our speech truthful. So sometimes we do have to speak truth to power, as they would say, what's supposed power. We have to speak what's beneficial for the situation. Sometimes that's telling the truth, but a lot of times it's trying not to agitate or irritate people unnecessarily, or offending people. That's why it's good, where you have to talk about politics and what's pleasing to Krishna, then that's necessary. But a lot of times it's unnecessary to go online and engage in, what I think kind of thing, and just spend hours doing that. You don't want to offend people. You don't want to agitate people. You want to be kind to people as much as possible. And one should recite the Vedas regularly. So we're reciting the Vedas here. We're using our speech propensity to benefit society, right? One should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to others who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. Well, and sometimes it's like, if it's necessary, and Krishna tells the spiritual master to say something, it's like with a sword, very quickly. It's not attached to this long drawn out anger. It's just something that's said that needs to be said, that cuts that false ego and misconceptions about what somebody might be talking about. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. When speaking in spiritual circles, one's statement must be upheld by the scriptures. And you're setting an example for other devotees in the way you talk. So if you're talking nonsensical, that's not very good. You're not being very pleasing to Krishna. At the same time, one should at once quote from scriptural authorities. When speaking in spiritual circles, one's statement must be upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literature, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. So it's true, we have a lot of scripture, and fortunately I've been able to share some of this with you, and I'm going to continue as long as I'm in this body to share the Vedic literature. But it's also been instructed by our spiritual master that especially if you're doing outreach, you should take the opportunity to study and to memorize, if you can, the Sanskrit, if not, at least the English of Sanskrit, Vedic quotes to back up what you're saying. You can use biblical quotes too, or the Quran or something that correlate with the Vedic thought. and this is dependence of speech. So we are using the austerity of speech to benefit society instead of to cause problems. And so we're going to get into more about the austerity of the mind. We have the austerity of speech, austerity of bodies, the austerity of mind, and then some more about modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. We will get into that more next time. Thank you very much. Namaste.